because I thought I needed it, but I found out in the process of preparing for today that, in fact, I did. Yikes! I know, it's kind of scary. If you asked me a week ago, how many small appliances do you have, Angela? I would have said probably 4 or 6. And then I would have thought about it and I might have said maybe 7 or 10. And it wasn't until I started kind of pulling things out that I decided and kind of figured out that I had a whole lot more than that. So we're going to go through a process, and the process is talking about the different small kitchen appliances that we have and then figuring out exactly what we want to do with them. Do we want to keep them? Do we want to discard them? Or do we want to use them? Now, we're going to go on the premise that if we don't use it, we lose it, right? That's the first step of decluttering. If we don't use it, we lose it. So I want us today to kind of work together. And this is a program that people pay a lot of money for, okay? And we're going to do this for you for free because we care about you and we want you to unclutter your homes and find a space for everything, right? So one of the things that we really want to focus on today is be honest, but I'm going to ask you to jump in the comments and make some notes as we go. And I'm going to unclutter my own house and my own kitchen. And I just want to take a look at the space that I have. And my first question is, do you have space? And I know that a lot of us have stuff that's on top of our kitchen cupboards, but a lot of us have stuff that's underneath our cupboards. And if you look at my kitchen cupboard, there's nothing on any of the countertops. I've got plenty of space, right? I've got lots of space for all of the different things that I have, or so I thought. So if in the comments, if you have space, type hashtag I have space. And that way I'll know if you do have space. If you don't have space, type the hashtag I need space, because that's what we're going to do together is we're going to find some space together. I see that we've got lots of friends that are joining us so far. Hi, Steph, Space Cadet, Erica G. Thanks, you guys, for joining us. I'm super excited that you're here. I see Judy's Bakery Test and Kitchen is here. And I see that we also have a couple of folks online. I see that Sally is here. I'm adding Sally. Sally, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm very good. You've joined us again. Thank you so much. It's nice to have you here today.
Thank
Uh,
you.
so, quick question. Tell us, Sally, do you have space?
Yes, I do have space. Yes, but I
So,
don't keep a lot too. Everything I only have one unit that I need. Yet I have space. Yes.
so you got space for everything. And I see Rita is also back. We're adding you. Hi, Rita. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good, Angela. How are you?
I'm very good. So the question is, do you have space for all of the small appliances that you have?
I definitely have space, but I also don't think I need all the small appliances I have.
You've got more than you need, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so this is going to be the moment of truth. I see we have some folks here in our comment section that are saying, I have space and I need space. All right, at the end of the conversation today, this may change, and it may change based on our new rules that we're going to create for ourselves. So let's take a look and we'll move forward here. My next question is, do you have a coffee maker? And we're going to start with the easy stuff first. Do you have a coffee maker and do you use it? So if you have a coffee maker, type hashtag coffee maker in the notes. And I myself do have a coffee maker. What's interesting about my coffee maker is I don't drink coffee and I don't drink tea, but I have this in my work setup, and this is set up for employees that come over, and also guests or whatever. We can offer them a drink of coffee or tea or what have you. And so this is that station. Um, Sally, do you have a coffee maker?
Yes, I do have a coffee maker. Yes, I have a Keurig machine at home, and we drink coffee tea every day. So yep, I use them every day.
So is your tea maker, is that different than
It's the same. I just buy the teapot, the K cup, the tea ones. Yeah, I use
uh-huh,
the Keurig to do it. Yeah, and the
uh-huh.
hot cocoa, my daughter likes to use it. So yes, we use it every day, all of
Oh,
us.
nice.
Yep.
Okay, good. So this is not a problem for you. I love people that
Yeah.
are actually using the appliances that they have. That's great news. Rita,
Mhm.
do you and this is a great question. Do you have a coffee pot, or are you one of these Starbucks girls and you go to Starbucks and buy outside coffee?
Well, so to preface, I have three roommates, and that's part of the reason I think we have too many appliances is because we have doubles and triples of of so many things. I am an outside coffee kind of girl. I do buy a lot of Starbucks or like local coffee shops, but we also have an espresso in our house. And so we kind of rotate using that and going out to buy coffee. But on top of the Nespresso, we have like little kitchen gadgets that go with it, like one of those automatic little like twirly things. I don't know what to call it. But I would consider that a small kitchen appliance as well. But we have that in addition to the Nespresso, and then we also have two Keurig machines, but the Keurigs never get used because the Nespresso is kind of like the fancy newer machine we have. So I think probably one of the Keurigs at least can go.
That's a great explanation. Thank you. I see that Erica G says she's got a coffee maker and she uses it twice a day. All right. So we've got people that not only use the small appliances that they have, but they use them twice a day. I love this. Okay, great. I don't want you to get rid of stuff that you're using. The goal is to use the stuff that you have. In the decluttering world, a lot of times there's a desire to just get rid of everything for the sake of getting rid of things. That is not our goal here. Our goal is not to just get rid of things randomly, but to get rid of stuff that we're not using. If we're using it, thumbs up, you deserve to have it. I want you guys to have nice stuff, but I want you to use the stuff you have. That's the rule, right? Use the stuff you have. All right, so we're going to start with the easy things first. And whenever we're decluttering, that's always the place we start. We start with the easy things first because it's not a huge decision, right? So what I started with was I knew in the back of my mind that I had a little designer crock pot that I wasn't using. And so I decided to start with that. And it turns out that I'm starting at one side of the kitchen and I'm going to work my way around the kitchen so that I'm kind of pulling things out as I go. And as I'm pulling out this little crock pot, I'm asking myself the questions. How long has it been since I've used this crock pot? How long has it been? And then have I ever used it? So my question to you guys is, do you have anything that maybe you've never used? If you've never used it, type hashtag never used in the sidebar. I'm curious to know if you have something, and this is one of those for me. I'm not sure I've ever used this before. Okay, so it's going to be an easy one for me to let go. And I hate that that's the case. Dean says, hi, Angela, I have a question since we're looking in the kitchen area and I'm a professional home cleaner. I've tried every cleaning product when it comes to cleaning the grease around the cupboards. So we have videos, and I will make a note here, grease on the videos, grease on the cabinets, so that we can get you that video. And I will make sure that you have that. Grease on the cabinets is a real thing. That's not the topic of today's conversation. So I do want to focus on just what we're doing today, which is going through our cupboards. I am curious. It's a football. Yeah, it is a football. It was a little football crock pot that when I pulled it out, it was about the size of a potato. And I realized I could cook a potato in it, and that's probably all I could do. And then my question was, do I keep it or do I let it go? And I asked my husband about it, and my husband said, "Oh, that's so cute." I said, "Yes, it is so cute, but I don't know that I've ever used it." He said, "Well, it would be great for a Super Bowl party." And then I said, "We haven't had the Super Bowl party at our house though in about 10 years." And so I don't know how long I've had this, but this is not a crock pot you would use if you were having like a Christmas party, right? You would want one that looked like a wreath or a Christmas tree or something. So because it's kind of specialized, I might let this go. I don't think I'm going to keep it just because I've never used it. And although I have a place for it, I probably don't need it. My next question to myself is, if we were going to move, there are rumors in my household that we're going to move. And if we move, it will probably be a smaller house. So I probably won't be able to take all the things that I have right now. And even though there's a space for them now and I don't have to throw them away today, my question is, if something happened and I were hit by a bus and my family had to come in and clean out all my stuff, would I want them to have to make all the decisions I'm about to make today? And the second question is, if I move to a smaller house, would I take this with me? And if the answer is no, my next question is, would I pay to put it in a storage unit? And the answer is no, I don't think I would. And so that's my question that we're kind of dealing with here. All right. Inventory. It's time for inventory. This is a really scary time for us to take a look at the stuff that we have. But my suggestion is, on this particular thing, pull it out pull everything out one by one, and let's have an honest conversation about what that looks like. Now, I don't often encourage you guys to pull everything out one by one because you can create a great big mess. In this particular scenario, you see that I have some crock pots here that are on the floor. Do you guys have any crock pots that are on the floor? Or not crock pots, but appliances that are still in the boxes that are on the floor? And if you do, type on the floor in the sidebar so that I can kind of get a grasp of what you guys are doing. For me, they're on the floor because I do have space, but these are here because we cleaned out the pantry and I wanted to keep them all in the same area. So it's a little bit of a, I don't know, moment of truth when you start realizing, well, I have stuff I'm not using and stuff that's on the floor and stuff that's stored in cabinets that I can't see, and I don't really know what I have. And so as I start pulling out item by item by item, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this all up on the kitchen counter. And in the professional house cleaning world, many of you know that I run a training company for professional house cleaners. One of the things that we have is an upsell package, and we clean 5 small appliances for up to $100. And so it can be any 5 appliances at all. And I said to myself, well, I don't need that service because all my appliances are clean. Well, the reality is there are other people in the house that use the appliances and they don't always leave them clean when they're done. So as we started pulling out my appliances, I found at least 5 where I said, hey, where's that person that does a special package? I've got 5 appliances that need to be cleaned. And so what we're going to do on this particular scenario is we're going to pull them all out. We're going to take a look at them. Are they clean? And then we're going to plug them in and we're going to find out, are they in working order? So are your kitchen appliances in working order? Rita, let me toss this over to you. Do all of your kitchen appliances work? I think you mentioned something about one of yours that may not be in the best of shape.
So I actually have a toaster oven, which I can share an image of because I did take a picture of it.
Oh, good.
Oop. I don't know if you all can see my toaster oven, but like I said, I have 3 roommates and all 4 of us are like very in and out of the house. So I don't think any of us actually know who this toaster oven belongs to. I know it doesn't belong to me, but it's been sitting on our counter ever since we moved in. So it's been about 3 months. And at individual times, we've all gone and tried to use it and realized it doesn't work. Like I sat waiting 30 minutes for like some tenders to heat up or something before I realized that the toaster oven just doesn't work. And I checked that it was plugged in and everything.
30 minutes is a long time.
Yeah, well, I was like, I don't know what I thought, but I waited and they were still like ice cold. And then I think all my roommates have kind of realized, or maybe they haven't. It's just one of those things we never talked about. The toaster oven's just sitting there. Now we're storing other pans on top of it, and we just haven't gone around to getting rid of it or having that conversation. So
I hate that it doesn't work because it's a common thing when sometimes we hang on to one. It doesn't work very well, so we buy a new one. And then I don't know why we still hang on to the old one as if it's like a backup. Like, well, if this one doesn't work, then I've got a backup. Not in this particular scenario, but we have an iron like that in our house, like an iron for ironing clothes. And my husband won't let me throw the old iron away. And I'm like, well, we replaced it because it didn't work. And so hanging on to it just in case isn't going to make it ever work again. Right. And I don't know why it's like this comfort zone, like, don't get rid of it because like it's our backup. Well, it's not our backup. I mean, yes, it heats up, but it didn't work badly enough that we bought a new one. Right. And so there are a lot of people that have these. So if you're one of these people, it's okay. This is a safe conversation. Say, I've got a spare, a bad spare. Type in bad spare in the comments so that we know you have a bad spare. I'm guilty of this myself. I got a bad spare and it's an iron. That's funny. All right. So is your equipment in working order? And that's what we're going to do in this particular scenario. We're going to run through the kitchen. I'm going to pull everything out of all the cupboards. I'm going to pull the stuff out of the pantry. I'm going to plug it in and I'm going to take a look at it and see, is it in working order? Now, one of the things that's a little bit eye-opening as I start going through some of this stuff, and I should preface this by saying we have had a lot of parties at our house. So I have a lot of party goods. that would go on that great big granite countertop where we have like lots of dishes and, fun things to eat and ornamental, trays and stuff like that. And as I'm going through all this stuff, I'm thinking in the back of my head, I haven't had any of those big parties since COVID. And so I know that some of this stuff I haven't used in like 2 years, maybe even longer. And so then my question is, am I going to start having parties again if we go to the use it or lose it thing? Or am I going to have to start making decisions about, I don't really need this? And for the lifestyle changes that I've made since COVID, I might not need them anymore. Again, if I were going to move to a smaller place, would I take them with me? If the answer is no, I can get rid of them because I'm not going to pay to put them in a storage unit, right? Not knocking storage units. It's just that's not where I am right now at this phase of my journey. So I'm pulling out some crock pots, and I have a true confession about this particular crock pot that I'm pulling out right now. I thought this was just an empty box. I did not know there was a crock pot in it because the crock pot that I thought was in it was actually across the kitchen in another cupboard. It turns out that it wasn't until I pulled all of the items out of my cupboards that I discovered that, in fact, I have two of the exact same crock pot. And so it either multiplied or I had two all along and I didn't know it. And so maybe you have two or you have duplicates, right? But I'm curious, do all of the appliances that you have, do they all work? If they're all in working order, give me a hashtag working order. I think most of mine, except for the iron, I think most of mine are. So somebody on Facebook says, I got rid of my party dishes. I figure next we'll party out. And that's one of the things that I discovered too. As my business picked up and I got a lot busier, I decided for me that I didn't want to throw a party. I decided that the expense of throwing a party, and it takes a week or 2 weeks to prepare for the party and get all that stuff ready. I decided for me, probably the better way to go was to eat out at a restaurant, or maybe we'll next time we'll go over to Sally's house. I know that Sally is a big chef and she does lots of party cooking. Are you still doing parties, Sally, since
Uh,
COVID?
in the small scale, like just like five family or less, not like before. Before, yeah, we have more family than that, but now it's smaller because of COVID. So we kind of cut it down. Also, I think that as you're getting older, you're kind of lazy to do a lot more stuff.
Uh
So
huh.
that's another reason. So in a way, I'm glad COVID happened. So I kind of cut down a lot, reduced a lot. Yes.
But you're still cooking and stuff. Okay, so next time
Yes,
I'm just
I
going to
still
hire
cooking.
you
Yes.
to cater my parties. And now that you've watched this video, you know where I keep everything, so you can come over and do all the cooking and make a party for us. That would be fun. All right. So one of the things that I discovered was that I have a slow cooker. And as I pulled out my slow cooker, I had to have an honest conversation with myself about what is the difference between a slow cooker and a crock pot. And I think at one time I sat through a fancy sales presentation where the guy was selling a slow cooker, and he was explaining the fact that it would allow you to, like, if it was turned off, it could automatically turn itself on while you're at work during the day. And unlike a slow cooker where you just have to turn it on and like hope you get home before it like totally falls, the food totally falls apart because it just has fallen off the bone or it's like overcooked or whatever. And I like the fact that it had a timer on it. And I honestly think that I bought a slow cooker just because it had a timer on it. And so I was buying it just because of the feature. I'm curious, have you guys ever bought anything that was similar to something you already owned just because it had like one more feature? I know that in the world of electronics, oftentimes we're guilty of doing that, where we buy something that's just one step better because it has a couple features that the old version that works perfectly good doesn't have. Is anybody like that? Does anybody have something that you purchased that was just one step better and probably didn't need it? And I say probably didn't need it because as I look at that slow cooker, that's one of those other items I've used maybe a half a dozen times, and only because of that feature. But for the rest of the time, I still prefer my crock pot because I'm going to be home within the amount of time. So I don't want to say it was a waste, but it was really an unnecessary item that I purchased with good intentions. And I just don't think I got the mileage out of it, you know? Connie says our crock pot just broke and she needs a new one. Connie, please don't buy one. I have many, and we're about to find out that I have many. If you live near me, you're welcome to come pick one up. I've got plenty of crock pots. Connie also says, yes, she has power tools. That's not my history with smartphones. Every one of them is revolutionary. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. True that. I'm guilty of having the newest, bestest smartphone as well, thinking that it's going to give me things that I don't have. Yeah. All right, and a toaster oven. We looked at Rita's toaster oven, and I think I have a toaster oven of my own here. One of the things about the toaster oven, and this was revolutionary for me, is I don't do a lot of cooking, and in the process of pulling out my toaster oven, I started asking myself, how long have I had this? And it's probably been over 10 or 12 years. And I've probably used it a handful of times. When I opened it up, this is one of those items that kind of caught my attention because if I look closely, it's got stuff inside. Like, who thought I would have something like that in my house? Sally's laughing. Um, I was really embarrassed. I was like, oh my goodness, I've got a really dirty toaster oven, and it's one of those things. Somebody used it, popped it back in the cupboard, or they left it on the cupboard, and I just popped it back in there thinking it was clean. And so I've got this toaster oven that I've used maybe a handful of times. And so if you have a toaster oven, just type hashtag toaster oven. Take inventory here and find out what you guys have. Do you guys have a toaster oven, or is that just me and Rita? Or are we the only ones that have toaster ovens? And Rita has one that's broken. Rita, you can have my working toaster oven that I don't use very often.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right, let's take a look at the juicer. This is kind of interesting. Do you guys have a juicer? How many of you guys actually use juicers? I'm curious to know if you have a juicer, and if you do you use it? I ask because I bought this juicer probably about 10 or 15. It's been longer than that. It's been longer than 15 years. And I've used it a lot. It was a really big staple to my diet. I know that when my husband was in the process of losing over 100 pounds, we started out with the juicer. We'd watch this program on YouTube that was called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. And it was all about Joe Cross's journey through weight loss. He lost like 100 pounds. And in the process of losing the weight, he lost it by juicing. And I already had a juicer. And I was like, oh, that's so awesome. I should encourage my husband to use the juicer and see if we can go on a similar journey. What was interesting was in the process of using the juicing, there's a lot of pulp that comes out. And so all of the fiber from the fruits, the apples, the carrots, all the stuff that we were juicing, all the pulp was coming out. And we were using the pulp for composting. But what I didn't know is it was attracting deer and rabbits outside that wanted our fresh produce. I was putting it around the plants and, using it out in the garden. And I was getting all these wild animals that came and they were eating all of the pulp that I was leaving out there, as well as all my plants. And so I stopped putting the pulp out there. But I was sad because as we were juicing, which was intended to be a good health move, one of the things that I noticed was that in the process of doing that, we were losing all the fiber. And so one day we were inside a Costco and the guy was doing a demonstration. And as we walked by, my husband had come with me and I had this great big monster grocery cart of fresh fruit and vegetables that we were going to juice. And the guy was doing a demonstration on the Vitamix blender. And he was throwing in whole carrots and whole apples. And I stopped and I realized that even though that was a really expensive blender, it would reduce the waste, the food waste that was all the pulp. And I realized that in addition to having all the fresh fruits and vegetable juices, we could also have the pulp that was going to then give us the fiber and the other nutrients that we were throwing away. And so we bought a Vitamix literally on site right there that day at Costco, not because it was an impulse purchase, but because as I started walking away, my husband grabbed me. He's like, "Why are you walking away?" And we have this rule in our house that if anything costs more than $400, we have a conversation about it before we buy it. We do not buy it on the spot. And as I started walking away, I turned around and I said to him, well, because my next question was, did you want white or black? And he said, I want black. And I said, great, let's do it. And I'd already decided in my head that I wanted it and that it would be a good use and that it would help us on that journey. But I also committed to myself, if I spend $400 on a blender, it's got to be something that I promise myself I'm going to use. And so let's take a look at the blender. I think this is not the blender. This one is the pressure cooker. We'll come back to the blender. But with the blender, then we have used it every single day, and it's made a huge difference. All right, this is a pressure cooker, and I know many of you have an Instapot. This is one that my husband bought for a holiday, Christmas or something, and got really gung ho about it. We used it a half a dozen times, and I realized that for me, my lifestyle is more slow cooker. Throw something in there and just let it do its own thing, and not have me come in and do all the maintenance of the high pressure, and make sure that the um, the thing is cleaned out, and I got to wait until the pressure stops so I don't burn myself on the lid and all that stuff. I'm more of a crock pot person than the Instapot. Do you guys have an Instapot? If you do, write Instapot in the notes. I wanted to jump back to Connie. She says she has 2 juicers, one to puree cat food and one that they no longer use. Oh. Is the one that you no longer use, and this is a question for Connie, is the one that you no longer use, does it work, or is that like a backup in case the one that you use stops working? I'm curious about that. And back on blenders, we have a Facebook user here that says they have a Vitamix blender too, but the old one had a broken stick blender and isn't a good substitute for a regular blender. You know what? It's interesting. I've tried a couple of other blenders on the market, and I'm not selling Vitamix blenders or anything, but I'm a huge fan. For the last, I'm going to say probably 10 years, I've had the Vitamix blender, and I think I have one over here. I think this is the blender. Yes, here's the blender one. My blender, I have probably used it twice a day for 2 meals a day for probably the last 10 meals. And in fact, here is let me see if I can make this. Here, where's my camera? Here is the rest of my breakfast smoothie for today. So I'm drinking chia seeds and spinach juice today as my breakfast. So yay! But yeah, I do use it a couple times a day for all my meals. This is great. So Joanne says, yes, we use the blender and the food processor. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. The blender and the food processor, because those are a couple that we use as well. And I love the fact that we're using what we have. I'm still trying to figure out this technology. Thanks, you guys, for being patient with me. Tropical Bliss 45 says, I bought a Dash Pro instead of a Vitamix, and it does the same thing at less than half the cost. That's fantastic. And so if you can find one that works for you, I think there's another one on the market called Ninja that's also really good, that does all of the chopping of like the cores of apples, and we throw in watermelon and watermelon rinds, we throw in lemon, we throw in lemon peels, we throw in oranges and orange peels, we throw in the whole thing. And so if yours is like robust enough that it does that, I love it. It's lots of fun, and saves me from like doing all this food prep so that I can juice it, which in the juicer you had to do a lot of food prep. And we got several people here that said they love Instapots. A. Smith, and I have to put this one up on screen. Evil Bill Z has 3 Instapots. Oh my goodness. Evil Bill, you and I are almost twins, because we're going to find out that I have not only just one Instapot, but I've got lots of crock pots. Oh my goodness. This is exciting. I tell you what, it never stops. Food processor. Here we go with the food processor. Let's take a look at that. All righty. I do use my food processor a lot because I don't like chopping up vegetables. I'm looking for time-saving items. This is one that was hiding out in the pantry, but it's right there front and center where I can get to it easily. That has to be a rule for engagement. If you have equipment that you do store out of sight, out of mind, and you do use it, keep it in a place where you can access it really quickly so that you can use it on a whim and then clean it and then put it back. There's no sense having stuff that we're not going to use. And there's no sense having stuff that is in a box that's at the bottom of a cupboard or a closet that you can't use in a hurry. Because the crock pots, like I said, I found one that was a duplicate that I didn't know I had. I thought it was just the box of one that I use on occasion. So the answer is, well, I've got now a spare. It's brand new. I have a spare that I probably don't need, because the one that I was using is in the cupboard with easy access, and it's in a drawer that just pulls out, right? So again, shame on me for not participating. I do want to mention that any of you guys can jump up here on camera with us and have a conversation with us if you like. There's notes. I think I can leave a note here so that you guys can join us live. I'm delighted that Sally and Rita have joined us. This is always so much fun to have other friends. Um, so, Sally, do you have a food processor?
Yes, I do have one, but I don't use as much as I should be, I guess. I use the blender a lot more. Yeah, so it kind of sitting there. I only use like a month, maybe, I don't know, like in a year, maybe like a handful of time. Yeah.
Do you use the blender as a food processor, like to blend stuff
Yes.
up? Oh, you
Yes.
do?
Yeah. I use blender a lot more. Every week I use the blender, but not the food processor. I use a lot lesser. I should use more, but yeah, it's been sitting there, so I use less. Yeah.
I know that on occasion I have used my blender, like if I'm making salsa or if I'm making like pickle relish, then I use my blender because I can just hit the button once or twice and it kind of like crunches stuff up, but
Yeah.
not, it doesn't puree it like a smoothie, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still learning how to do that as well. Somebody taught me how to make salsa and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. So, Rita, do you cook?
Minimally, but like all the things I cook, I only use the stove and the oven. I honestly have no idea what I would use a food processor for. I don't think I'd even know how to use one if it were in front of me. So I definitely don't have a food processor, but I do have a blender. I make a lot of smoothies.
Okay, cool. Very cool. All right, the electric drill. How many of you guys have an electric drill? Hashtag electric drill in the sidebar if you have one. I remember years ago, we were watching this infomercial. I know you guys have never done this. You watch the infomercial and you see all the different ways that you can use the George Foreman grill. And that's just the brand that we have or the infomercial we were watching. So I was like, well, we should have one of these. And, apparently you don't need grease or any frying capabilities or whatever. And I thought, oh, that will be so much healthier. We need one of those. And we have used it on occasion. I'm going to say like twice a year, maybe. And we've kept it because we do use it on occasion, but it's like a really, really rare occasion. And so I'm thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? I have this. I don't cook a lot. Most of the stuff I cook is in crock pots, and I do cook one day a month. And I use 9 crock pots, and I put all the stuff in crock pots. I go to Costco, I buy all the fruits and vegetables, and then what I do is I put them in little tiny freezer packs and I put them out in the freezer that can be heated up in the microwave. So that's kind of like my style so that I can be on the go and I can be busy or whatever and race in, throw something in the microwave, 2 minutes, I'm good to go. That's kind of my style. And so to turn on a grill and to plug it in and to mix something up and to put it in there and to grill it. And so going through this was a really eye-opening process for me because I'm saying to myself, I don't really need this. I don't really use it. Could I let it go? The answer is yes. Would I ever miss it? Maybe. Would I ever purchase another one? The answer is no. If someone gave me one for free, would I take it? The answer is no. If I were going to move, would I take it with me? The answer is no. Would I pay to put it in a storage unit? The answer is no. And so, do you see the process that we're going on here? If you are a professional house cleaner and you offer this service to your customers, when you start having these conversations and you start asking them those questions, it starts opening a dialogue either in their head or with their spouse. And by having all of these out on the kitchen cupboard, it forced myself to have a conversation with my spouse because he came in and I texted him. I said, when you walk in, do not be alarmed. I said, we're doing something for the clutter corner and it's part of something I'm doing for my job. And he came in and he said, he took one look and he said, this is not a clutter corner. This is a clutter house. And so I laugh because everything has a place, right? Everything was put away. But it was a great opportunity to walk him around the kitchen. We walked around the island and I said, do you want this? Do you want this? Are we going to use this? Would you miss this if it were gone? And his answer was, I won't miss any of it because I don't know that we have it. I don't see it. It's out of sight. It's out of mind. And he said, for the amount of time that I don't cook, I'm not going to miss most of this stuff if you were to get rid of it. And so these are the kind of honest conversations we can start having with ourselves when we try to figure out about some of the stuff that we have. And just because we have space for something doesn't necessarily mean we should keep it. right? So these are some of the truth conversations that we're trying to bring up and have with ourselves. For those of you that are just joining us, this is the Clutter Corner Live, and we meet now every Thursday. We're doing a small mini series right now. We meet every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and there will be a replay, so you can watch the replay. My intent for you on this mini series is that you start looking at some of the stuff that you have. During COVID, a lot of people stayed at home. Well, they came home. They were working and then they started working from home. And then their kids came home from school. So the parents that didn't want to come home all of a sudden we're now at home and they're homeschooling and stuff. The houses started getting a lot more use. During that process, a lot of people started looking at, oh, wait a second, I got that room in the other room that's kind of a guest bedroom and it's kind of a storage room. And we've been kind of chunking things in there that we probably should pull out. And people started pulling things out from their scary room or from their closets. People started going through their garages and their attics. There are people that were really ambitious that went to their storage units. You know, the storage unit industry is the $39 billion annual industry. So people are storing a lot of stuff. And my intention is not, again, I'm not knocking the storage unit industry, but the average person spends $88 a month on a storage unit. And that's a lot of money to be spending, especially during a recession, storing stuff that you're not using. And if you have small appliances, I don't even want to ask this question. Please don't even answer this question. But if you have small appliances that are kitchen appliances that you're storing in a storage unit, I promise you're not using them. I promise you don't need them, and you will probably never use them again. And so unless you're in the process of just moving, and that's why you've stored them for a moment, but if you're just storing stuff because you don't have space, there's a lot of stuff that you could probably get rid of. And so the reason that we're having the Clutter Corner Live is so that we can have those conversations that are kind of tough to have. And just for the sheer fact that once we have those conversations, then we can be more truthful about the stuff that we have. All right, let's take a look at toasters. I do use my toaster, and this is one of those happy moment items from my house. And I just pulled it out because it's sitting there on the cupboard. And these are the two items in my kitchen that sit out. These are the only two items in my kitchen that sit out, which is kind of odd. And the toaster I now use. We didn't use a toaster for several years because we didn't eat any bread during the time my husband was losing all the weight. We didn't have any bread in the house at all. And then one day we remembered bread. I remember I had told Sally this one day that we started having sandwiches, and she was laughing at me like, I love bread. And I'm like, I love bread too. I just forgot that it existed. And I didn't buy it. And so it wasn't on my shopping list. And I've now outsourced my grocery shopping. So I never added bread to the list. We just never had bread in the house. So then one day my husband's like, "Oh, I forgot about sandwiches." So now we do have a little bit of bread here and then we do make some sandwiches. So there's a question here that says, "Okay, English question. I can't go to Google because then the video will stop. What's difference on a food processor compared to a blender?" That's a great question, Sally. I think that's a question for you. Do you know what the difference is between a food processor and
Uh,
a blender?
yes, one main thing is food processor. You no need to add water. You can blend. Blender, you have to add some sort of liquid. Then the blender will move. It cannot blend dry. That's the biggest difference that I know of. So blender, you can have to be liquidy. It had to be wet. Food processor can be dry. That's the biggest difference. I hope I answer your question though.
No, that was great. I did not know that. So I just learned something new myself. That was a,
Okay.
a great question. Thanks, you guys. And what I use my food processor for is things like shredding lettuce when I don't want to cut it, or if I'm like going to
Yeah,
throw
that's
some
good.
mushrooms or something in a wok. I'll just
Mhm.
throw them inside the food processor and it cuts them up and dices them in little pieces, as opposed to a blender that to me just liquefies everything. And
Mhm.
I'm not skilled enough to know the difference between how to just use the blender for other things. I liquefy everything. So yeah, that's the difference for me. We do have a question here that was a really good question. Somebody said, and it's A Smith, Angela, have you used a local Facebook buy nothing group? You could use that to get rid of excess items. I have not used Facebook buy. Is there somebody that could explain that to me? A Smith, do you want to jump on camera and tell me what that is? I would love to know. Rita, you smile. Do you know?
It sounds like a resale group from what I can tell, but I'm not sure.
Oh, she
Okay.
got me.
Judy.
And there's Judy. Hey, Judy, how are you today?
Oh, good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
Nice,
good.
nice to have you with us today. How you doing?
I'm thrilled because I've got some stuff to talk about.
Oh,
But go
good.
ahead, finish off with your question.
So my question is, do you know about the Facebook buy and sell group? Do you know how that works?
I don't use it. No.
Okay.
I have a 24-hour auction site I like to use that's local. And I like and there may be some in your local area too. What I like is I know within 24 hours whether or not it's sold and for how much. And they have
Uh-huh.
3 days to pick it up, so they or they're kicked off the list, so it's real strict. Facebook Live, I'm not sure, but I wouldn't bother with Facebook Live unless it was like $25 or something.
Yeah. So to answer that question, no, I haven't used Facebook buy or sell, and I'm glad to know that's an option. I'm going to take a look into that so that I can learn more. I've been using a lot of Nextdoor, and I know that when we do this process with customers, Nextdoor works really, really, really well for us. So what we do is we take a picture and we put it in a box or like a milk crate. We put it out at the end of someone's driveway, and we take a picture of the mailbox with the number of the house and like the side of the house or the front of the house so that they know that's the house, that's the mailbox, and this is the item, what the item looks like sitting at the end of the drive. And so then this is not a buy or sell, but this is just giveaway. Like if you want it, it's yours. And so then what we say is come pick it up. And we always use the phrase first come, first serve. And so here's the address, here's the item. You want it, it's yours. Here's a picture of it. And our longest time that something has sat in the driveway for giveaway is, I think, 26 minutes. So boom, and it's gone.
Wow.
So that's what we do there. Okay, so our next question. Um, oh, we looked at the blender and we
Well,
looked at the juicer. And we did not look at the shredder slicer. Let's take a look at the shredder
Yes,
slicer.
Judy, you want to say something?
yeah, I do because that's where my area is. Okay, this this is can you see it? This is my mini chopper blender that's been sitting in the cupboard. My husband just told me last night, I haven't seen you use that in 7 years. And this is the first food processor blender type thing that I had. I used it a lot of vendors, I used it to chop nuts. Okay.
Uh-huh.
You know what I chop nuts with?
Oh my
A
goodness.
Ziploc bag and a
A
mallet.
rubber mallet. That's
Rubber
awesome.
mallet. Okay. And then I have three things. I'm trying to figure out what to keep. This can grind. I bought this about a year ago because I'm following a YouTuber who is a really great low carb baker, and she shows how you can grind nuts and seeds to make your own flour. And this does a great job of that. Okay. And then this is good for spices. And I'm wondering, can I replace this with this? Uh, should I save this? So those are my questions.
Okay, so
All in the area here.
of
You know,
those of those that you have, which is the easiest for you to give away
this one.
and why?
Um, I think that when we got the Ninja blender food processor from our realtor, that replaced a lot of stuff. It doesn't hold a lot. If I'm going to do one onion, I will probably use, I have I forgot what it's called, but you pull the handle down and it chops an onion for you. If I'm going to do two onions, it's going to do that. So I think this would be the easiest one because it does such a small amount, and I'm trying to get away from small amounts. If I do a larger amount, like a big onion, which I do have, I have a red onion I have to chop up. Um, I would get it in the bigger food processor, chop a bunch up, and freeze it. So I'm trying to get away from little amounts. This is the one I'd get rid of over all these three. This one I save for dry stuff. Probably if it would pulverize nuts, it would make them like a flour. So I wouldn't want that. This is a better food chopper for nuts, and this is great for spices. So the Cuisinart.
How many spices do you use and how often? Is that something that makes sense for you to keep?
Oh, Well, I'm trying to get into whole spices so I could grind them instead of, when you have pre-chopped spices. I think I use this. I think I use that. I didn't think about that. I think I use this about once a month, once every 2 months.
Okay, so you are using it.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So then we want you to keep that one. If you're using
yeah,
it, we want you to keep it. Thumbs up.
yeah, yeah,
The one that you said is the easiest for you to get rid of.
yeah.
What would be your purpose for getting rid of it today?
I'm trying to move stuff. I have three. I'm trying to get rid. I have these three shelf units in the kitchen instead of shelving, and I'm trying to pare that down. I'm as I move. This was in the counter and the cupboard, and I'm trying to move stuff off of there into the cupboard. So that's my goal there. And I could also I've got all these pie pans and stuff like that, which I'm kind of downloading, decluttering, but it would help me get rid of those, I need to get rid of more.
And so is anybody going to miss that if you get rid of that? You, anyone in your family, any of your relatives?
No, no. Larry said he doesn't need it for coffee. He has a coffee grinder.
Okay. So for you, what if we were to get rid of that one item? Is that doable?
I could do it. I still have the instruction book. It'd be nice for somebody to really enjoy.
Okay. Well,
I do it.
I think that's the answer then. If you found you found a couple that you want to keep, you found some that are useful to you, and you're still using them.
Yeah, yeah,
Do you have space for the one you want to get rid of? Like you said, you're trying to make
yeah,
space, and
yeah. But I could move something into that slot in the cupboard.
all right, so for you, let's get rid of that item. Let's make a commitment to get rid of that item.
Thank you.
If you guys, all of you that are in the comments here, and thank you so much for being here, you guys. This is super exciting. I'm having so much fun with you today. If you have an item that you, like Judy, are going to get rid of, go ahead and name the item that you're going to get rid of just by having this conversation. Maybe you thought of something that you're not using. I want to say hi to Allie. Allie, how are you today? You're on mute.
Yeah, I muted my microphone because I was broadcasting it onto the TV.
Oh.
And so it was going to be echoey for you guys.
Oh, okay. Well, how are you today?
That would be respectful. I'm quite well. I just wanted to tell you about Facebook. The Facebook.
Oh, yes, the buy and sell group. Yes.
Sorry. I also have an Aussie Doodle who is super active in the background. Please excuse it. So the Facebook Buy Nothing group for me, has worked very similarly to the neighborhood or the Nextdoor app that you were discussing earlier.
Uh-huh.
And I found that to be super useful whenever I had, I'm a touring comedian, and I had another comedian who was staying at the house for a little bit while she was, getting her legs in the area. And she, introduced me to the Facebook Buy Nothing group. And I was able to get rid of a lot of things by just taking a picture of it and, putting a picture, like you said, by the road and saying, here, come get it. It's available now. If it's not there, then so sorry for you. You missed out. And I was able to get rid of excess fans because I live in South Carolina. So of course I have a billion fans as a big woman, and just a lot of storage containers of things that I no longer wanted. So then I was able to get rid of the storage containers. Just lots of beauty products. I was able to donate to the local women's shelter. We have a very large CASA shelter nearby. And so, sometimes whenever you just have a little lipstick on or have your nails done, you feel a little better about yourself. And so I thought, well, this would be a great gift to pass along to the girls.
So my question for you is, what made you decide that that was the outlet for you? Instead of using Nextdoor or instead of selling something on eBay, what made you go with Facebook instead of a different platform?
Well, I didn't want to pay for shipping. And I didn't want to have to deal with going to the post office and waiting and doing all of that as well. And also, um, knowing that it's somebody in my area who could use it or who could get it and flip it if they wanted to and make a little money off of it since it's just sitting around. For me, that seemed the better option. So I don't know if you'd call that laziness or community, but a little bit of both, probably.
Yes, Judy.
I agree with it's Ali. I can't speak.
Ali,
Allie. Uh-huh.
Muhammad
Ollie.
Ali.
Oh, Ali. When I sell something, like I just sold that Gumby and Pokey, and I sold the ice cream maker, you know that somebody's going to be using it. I was thinking of
Yeah.
donating my little mini Cuisinart to ARC, which provides services for the disabled, but you don't know if they're going to sell it. I mean, 20% of all clothing is just what they keep when you donate clothing to a charity. They don't
Right.
keep everything. So this way, when I do it in my community, or you reminded me, I have a thermos that I couldn't sell. Nobody brings coffee to work. I'm going to put it up on Buy Nothing for someone to maybe take soup or something like that. I like
Absolutely.
knowing that somebody wants it and they take it away.
Yeah. And what they do with it is their business at that
Yeah.
point. And also, United Way doesn't usually put, and I don't know if that's the particular one that you were dealing with, but like United Way will not frequently have electronic devices that they sell because there's a liability there. And so for me, the fans, that's sort of an issue, like an issue that they may not be able to use them. But I'm in South Carolina, and so it's like 100 degrees all the time. So it just made more sense to put it out there. I live in a very busy street. So whether or not they bought it from the Buy Nothing group or they just drove by, uh, again, not my problem, not my business, just take it.
Nancy brings up a really good point. She says the Buy Nothing groups are strictly for giving and getting stuff for free, not buying and selling. And there's an app and also groups on Facebook. And I did not realize that it was only for free. So it's the same thing as like the Nextdoor, where you're just giving it away, not
Absolutely.
selling it. And I didn't realize that. So that's awesome. Thank you, Nancy, for sharing that with us, and thank you, Ollie, for sharing that with us as well, because this gives us an opportunity to kind of let go of those football crock pots that will cook exactly one potato that may not be in your wheelhouse if you need to cook, like Judy says, cooking a little bit more. And I know that that's where I am right now. I'm from
Well,
a
there's
large
a lot of
family.
churches too that are now offering their spaces for the community to come in and use as their commercial kitchens.
Well,
And
one of the
so that can help.
I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
One of the things that I was noticing is there are a lot of kids that are moving out for the very first time. And this is like the first time they've ever lived anywhere. And
Yeah.
because we are moving in through recessionary times and because the cost of living is so high, there are a lot of people that are just starting out with nothing. And so they're looking for a set of pots and pans and a set of bed sheets and a set of linens, a set of, comforters or towels or whatever. I know there are a lot of excess things that a lot of people have. And so if you're able to give it away, I think the Buy Now, or what is it, Buy Nothing group is
Yeah.
a great way to go. Yeah,
I will see a
absolutely.
negative on that is I haven't quite yet figured out how to remove the item once it's been taken. And so I've been getting like every day I get like 3 or 4 messages about the stupid fans. So and that's like my own like technology situation, I think. But yeah, so stay on top of and know how to get rid of it because people get a little ignorant if you don't have the item still available for them.
There's got to be a way to do that. I know that on Nextdoor, and literally we'll post something an hour later, we've removed it because it is gone. And you don't want to keep getting emails of people going, "Is that still for sale? Is that still
Yeah.
available? Is that still at the end of your drive?" Because then I feel bad when I'm like, "Oh, you were going to drive all the way across town and it's now gone." I mean, I feel bad about that. One of the things that's really important is that we do have a conversation about
This is it.
about I think it is important that we do have a conversation about the stuff that we have. Today has been a start to that conversation. We have a self quiz for you. It's absolutely free. In the links below the video, I've left it there for you because I want you to take a look at it, and I want you to just to have that conversation with yourself. It's time that we are truthful about the stuff that we have, because by creating space in our lives for some of this extra stuff, it not only frees up the space, but it, like Ollie was saying earlier, it kind of blesses the lives of other people that don't have accessibility to that stuff on their own, and they're not going to buy it. If you have extra and you're willing to share it, this is a really good opportunity to let that happen. All right, so we're closing up here. We're wrapping up. Do we have any last questions, or do any of you want to say anything that you would like to add before we call it a day? I want to be respectful of your time and let you guys get back to your afternoons. Joanne says Nextdoor does both free and for sale items. Thank you, Joanne, for that. That's awesome. Judy, do you have any last minute comments for us? Oh, you're on mute.
Time limit. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can.
Put a time limit on Nextdoor or something like that. I was going to get rid of a garden cart, and then a year later, somebody asked, "Do you still have the cart?" So I'll just, from now on, I say it's available until such and such date.
Oh, good.
Excuse me, but I'm looking for the warranty. I'm all excited to give away that topper.
So the good news is, if you can't find the warranty to go along with the item that you're giving away,
the instruction book.
if you don't have it, it's probably available online. And I say that
it's
not.
It's before internet. Yeah, it's old.
Oh, really? And so it's not one that maybe somebody scanned. No. Okay, well then you better find it. You better find it. Otherwise, somebody's not going to know how to crunch those. What is it? Nuts or?
Yeah. I got the. Look at this. I saved packaging.
Oh my goodness. Oh, you're just very prepared.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, this was so awesome. Thank you for your time and your attention today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I love the time that we were able to spend together. Thank you so much. And I will be doing this again next Thursday, same time, same place. And so watch the Facebook group, because that's where we're going to be showing our before and after pictures. If you guys have anything to donate this week, and we're talking about small kitchen appliances, take a picture of the before item and then let us know if you were able to give it away. If you use the Facebook group or if you use the Nextdoor, let us know how you got rid of it, or if you just donated it, like to the Salvation Army or the Goodwill. So we're curious to know what you did and how you did it. And that's it for today. And until we meet again, leave the world a cleaner place than when you found it.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.